Welcome back to another episode of Light Beer, Dark Money. I'm Sean Noble.
And I'm Chris Clements.
And I am happy to be back among the living.
Hey, doing a solo podcast, I haven't done that in a long time. And actually, at the end of it, it started off kind of slow. I wasn't quite sure what I was doing. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was great.
No, thank you. It was
great.
Fun. Got a lot of good reaction, too. So thank you all for the reactions.
Well, and just right off the top, thank you. Thank you for watching, listening, subscribing.
Absolutely. I mean, we're really humbled by it all the time. Your wife is really the mirror back to you, and the mirror back to me. I get all the times like, I can't believe people listen to you. I'm really humbled and thankful that people do. So
I'm honored.
Yes,
I'm honored.
And we have a lot of fun doing it, and hopefully you have a lot of fun listening. And we have a lot of great guests lined up here in this next couple months, and everything is happening so fast and furious that we'll not have nothing to talk about.
I mean, we literally can't keep up with what's happening.
And which is why we're doing these one-offs on Tuesdays now in a makeshift little studio in your office.
Mm-hmm.
That shall not be disclosed.
Well,
but it's important because everything that I touched on last week on Thursday by myself totally changed.
New.
It's all new.
Maybe not all new, but
but it's definitely progressed at a rate that
well, and one of the things that has
was unforeseen at the time.
Yeah, one of the things that's happened today, it's Tuesday the 4th. Is that right? February 4th?
Yes.
Is that the Senate Finance Committee has voted out RFK Jr.
Yeah.
And I had said a couple weeks ago, or a week and a half ago, that I thought that RFK Jr. was the most likely of, if there was someone that was not going to get through, that he was the most in danger because of how much of a threat he poses to the establishment.
Yes.
Right. But I mean,
I think the Maha movement made its voice very,
very clear,
especially to those committee chairs. It's been an interesting week to watch that online.
I mean, it is one of the things that I've been hearing from Senate offices is that they have not had the kind of intense lobbying at the grassroots level from moms.
I was just going to say that
on any kind of presidential appointment.
Yeah. Well,
which it's fascinating.
And I touched on it last week. When you have all these data points and you don't have answers for the data points, health data points. Trump tweeted out yesterday, the autism figures. So autism has exploded over the last 20 years. There's no causality right now to what is causing, what's happening. Obesity, all these different health issues that you and I, don't take for granted. We monitor our health completely. But, 10 years ago, Wesson oil was okay.
Yeah.
Now it's not. You should be using butter.
Right.
10 years ago, the food pyramid was sacrosanct in this country. Now you really need to be eating more meat.
Turn it upside down.
Meat and eggs.
Right.
And yet the healthcare community, especially when you're dealing with life insurance policies and healthcare policies, they haven't caught up to that.
Right.
They're still looking at if your cholesterol is over 200, you're somehow sick.
Yeah.
You're prone to more, health problems, which is not true, depending on what your lifestyle is.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me,
and your biology.
And your biology. And for me, I've had high cholesterol forever. It's just part of my physiology. But now they're finding that cholesterol within the 200s, the low 200s, it protects you from all sorts of other diseases.
Right.
Like Alzheimer's and other debilitating diseases of your bones. So what's the truth? What is it? And that it's really interesting to see this debate happen. Why not have the debate? And I think a lot of people have not wanted to have that debate.
Right. And Tulsi Gabbard picked up Todd Young as a supporter, senator from Indiana. So that
I tried to listen to all those hearings last week, and I listened to bits and pieces of Tulsi's. Cash's was great. He started off rather scripted, but then I think he did a master class as to, I think he'll get confirmed, no problem. RFK was the second hearing with health was much more combative than I thought the first. Tulsi, I thought, the biggest issue is going to be this Edward Snowden deal.
Mm-hmm.
Her defense, non-defense, non-verbalization of whether Ed Snowden was a traitor, which he was
Mm-hmm.
and continues to be, and a coward, as he is in a bunker somewhere in Russia.
Right.
And I saw all these different people coming to her defense on this, including our own Meghan McCain, who is saying that she would make it her mission in life to depose any Republican that dares to vote against Tulsi Gabbard. And if it does come down to the Edward Snowden issue, her father was a massive critic of Edward Snowden and the damage he did to our intelligence community. Now, shedding light on what the NSA was not supposed to be doing, that was fine. However, the way he went about it thereafter was criminal.
Right. I mean,
and there should be no discussion about this.
It was straight up, domestic espionage.
Yes. Yes. And then he went to China to sell his wares, and then he went to Russia to settle down and do his thing. So I think that vote is at 2 today, I believe, and we'll see what happens.
Okay. We talked about Cash. Oh,
well, I mean, did you listen to Cash's at all? I mean,
no,
what was your?
I have literally.
You're not as dorky as I am.
No, I am pretty dorky, but I was
so
completely
sick.
out.
I was so sick.
I was. It was
because I think I texted you and go, "Are you watching any of this?" You're like, "No." I go, watch Cash.
Yeah, I did not get in front of a screen for a number of days.
Oh, I hope I don't get it.
Yeah,
but I'm glad you're okay.
I survived. And then obviously the tariffs on again, off again. It's been an interesting. This is why people who don't really listen to Trump, always just assume the worst, and then they're surprised when things start to break his way because he's good at negotiating.
Well, it's not only that, and I think we've said it on the show before. I just want to encourage our listeners, our viewers, if you have a chance, and if it's still out there, you can go into your library, especially if you're a Gen Xer, go find your copy of The Art of the Deal. Go read it, highlight it. There's different pieces you might find. And I need to go back and read it myself, but so much of what he is doing is in the book.
Yeah, no, it's in there. It is who he is.
You can go back and read it. And then what's really interesting is that I was having a discussion with my son yesterday, and I was recalling some of the things that Trump does in terms of negotiation, in terms of making these outlandish positions, staking out outlandish positions, and then waiting, holding back his cards until the very end in terms of what he'll do or not do. And that type of tactic I used when we used to negotiate with the Teamsters. We used to do these crazy stuff, and it would get them all riled up, and they would be protesting and everything, and they would call me all sorts of names. I got followed home one time by some Teamster thug. And then, we would hold a couple things till the very, very end once we got what we wanted.
Right. No, I mean, he's a master negotiator. He's a deal guy. We said this right after he got elected. We talked about how he's going to want to get some big deals done.
Yeah.
And he's going to he's going to kind of rub everybody wrong.
Of course.
Depending on where you are on the political spectrum, or if you're hardcore MAGA, you're going to be pissed when that deal comes on immigration. I'm telling you, there's going to come a deal.
Yeah, you've been saying
at some point. And yes, they're doing deportations. They're having some very effective work done in that regard. I think that it hasn't been as it is interesting how caustic the Democrats continue to be.
I think the assessment that I've been reading and listening to, and I think it's the right assessment. The Democrats have built up infrastructure within the bureaucracy that absolutely benefits their core
Mm-hmm.
constituencies. You're seeing that with their freak out over USAID.
USAID. Yep.
So USAID has been like their slush fund for whatever cockamamie craziness they want to push internationally. And now you're seeing some linkage towards Dr. Fauci and the Wuhan lab, and there's a lot of stuff that's going to come out here, and there'll probably be some hearings. And I think going back to our podcast last week, Dr. Fauci is going to get called before Congress again because some scalps will be had. And some people will consider that justice. But in any case, so much of the bureaucracy, whether it be the Department of Education, USAID, has been for the Democrats' pickings. And all Trump is doing is going in there along with Doge and Elon Musk and looking what's there.
Right.
It's there for everyone to see if you want to take a look. And it's because he's the executive, he can slash it. He can eliminate it.
Well, it's and that's
I
the
believe
thing.
20,000 people, no, 1,000 people from EPA were just told they were no longer needed. I mean, it's just going to continue.
Well, and I mean, he made this what I think is an incredibly generous offer of
the severance
package.
I touched on that last week. 8 months.
Yeah. So you have till, he said February 6th was the deadline.
Yeah.
There have been, I read this morning, I think there have been 20,000 that have taken up the deal. It's about 1% of the federal workforce. So, they need to find some more people to take that. And I think if you're a federal employee and you don't like what Trump's doing, then you should take the deal.
Absolutely.
Because there was a Washington Post editorial by a guy who left the State Department, career bureaucrat, left State Department in 2019 because he was just tired of the Trump era at that point. And he basically in the op-ed says, if you're a federal employee and you don't like what you see, it is not patriotic to stay there and huddle down and try to write it out. If you don't like it, leave.
Well,
because this president was duly elected by a majority in America, and he gets to do what he wants to do as the executive. The courts and the Congress can do the pushback, but not the bureaucracy. That's not appropriate, which I thought was a very clear message. I mean, it was a refreshing message from a former federal employee who gets it.
Well, and it's an acknowledgement that the president, as the executive, runs the bureaucracy. The bureaucracy does not run the president. So the deep state, while real, is going to have a comeuppance. Well, and also you're dealing with the president, and we've said this on this podcast before. He's had 4 years to think about this. He's had 4 years to put his team together. I think the Democrats are just, their heads are spinning as to how fast things are moving.
Yeah.
And things are moving fast because you're not dealing with the president who woke up on election day and was surprised to be elected, who never thought he would get elected. All the polls had him in 2016 not being elected.
Right.
And then he didn't really know what to do. He took advice from a lot of people who were in it for themselves. And now he's putting people around him who are completely loyalists and are going to work together to achieve the same goals. That was not the case in the last administration.
Much more unified.
So a Tulsi Gabbard is going to work with a Marco Rubio, who's going to work with a Pete Hegseth, and they are going to work together as the cabinet to achieve the goals of Donald J. Trump. That was not happening in the last Trump administration.
Well, and I think that Marco's comments about USAID.
And so FAFO, here it comes.
Yeah. So Marco's comments about USAID were spot on.
Oh, completely.
Because he said they've treated this as their own, as if they don't even care about what the United States does, because this is their international globalist agenda.
A trans opera in Colombia.
Yeah.
What is that? Can somebody even explain that to me? I heard that from the press secretary yesterday. A trans opera, what was it? A trans comic book in Hungary or Poland?
Who knows? The point is that there is just immense waste that is not doing anything to help starving people, because it's the pushback's like, oh, the richest man in the world is now taking away all this food and aid from the poorest people in the world. No, he's not. He's getting rid of the bureaucrats who
No, if anything, we should be looking at all the waste, fraud, and abuse, taking that money, either eliminating it or repatriating it to things that are working.
Yeah.
You know, if yes, there's still an AIDS crisis in Africa. There's a lot of NGOs and different groups that have done great work in that regard,
Right.
and that get USAID money. So we're going to look at all of it.
Yeah.
And the president, it's only week number 2,
I know.
has the right and the responsibility to the American taxpayer to go in and look at all this. And what's amazing to me as conservatives, that this hasn't been done before.
Well, and it's been attempted, but it's always the roadblocks. I mean, it is a it's a dawn of a new day, because it's now we've got a president who doesn't care what the screaming ensues.
Yeah.
You know, what screaming ensues by the people who say, oh, this is outrageous. He doesn't care, because he made a promise to the American people that we were going to fix these things, and it's going to be disruptive because it's so embedded.
Oh,
I mean,
completely.
there are so many people who are so embedded in all this stuff. It is going to be painful. Yes. If you are a part of the problem, it is going to be painful for you.
Absolutely.
And whether you're part of the problem by your own volition or just because you happen to show up at work there one day and you thought this seemed like a good idea, I mean, it's going to happen, because there's so much that is just so broken and so out of control. I mean, the scope and size of the federal government is just mind-bogglingly out of control.
Well, and the amount of waste and complete and total idiocy in terms of what we spend money on.
Yeah.
You know, that has been highlighted by guys like Tom Coburn and
Right.
Rand Paul for
Decades.
for years and years and years. And all this is bubbling up to the surface now, and Democrats are acting so surprised. Like, how could you do such a thing? Well, it's all going away.
Yeah.
You know, God willing. And now you have a president who's willing to do it. To your point, which is an excellent one, he doesn't care. And you have somebody like Elon Musk, and I made this point to somebody earlier, is driving the Democrats crazy about Elon Musk and President Trump. They cannot be bought.
Right.
They cannot be bought. Elon Musk is going in to USAID or Doge and everything else. He's sleeping on the floor on a cot in a federal building. He's brought in all these 20-something, techies, and they're finding out just by doing some simple data mining, they're
Right.
finding all this stuff because they know how to do it.
Right.
They're not a career bureaucrat that if you ask them a question, it's going to take them 2 weeks to get back to you.
Right. Yeah. These guys are keystrokes away from answers.
Yeah.
So,
and that's why it's going so fast, and that's why the Democrats are losing their noodle.
yeah.
Which explains why they had a meeting over the weekend in Washington, D.C., where they elected their new leader, and nothing's going to change for them.
No, I mean, it's clear that as far as the Democratic Party, the DNC, this new chairman from Minnesota is just same old, same old.
Yeah.
I mean, they have not learned one lesson.
No, because they are entrenched with an ideology that is communist by nature. And
I mean, he talked like as if they represent the working class.
yeah,
That's like, you don't get it. You don't get it.
They've lost the working class.
Yeah.
And they've lost the middle. And once you do that, it's...
I mean, literally the core constituency of the DNC at this point are federal employees.
I think somebody said that the Democratic Party has whittled down to Martha's Vineyard, Aspen, and 20 blue cities.
Yeah.
And even those cities are crumbling, and so
Yeah.
they're being threatened there as well.
Right.
If you look at see what's happening in Los Angeles, I mean, Rick Caruso just had a big press conference yesterday where he's putting together this whole nonprofit of executives and business leaders and to get things done because Karen Bass is so incompetent and
Yeah.
the governor's so incompetent.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to need to happen. And you put these bureaucrats in power who never run a business, never met a payroll. Guys like Chucky Schumer, talking about tariffs this weekend, and he doesn't even know what he's saying. It's embarrassing. And it's the business people, thank God, guys like Elon Musk, entrepreneurs, and even Donald Trump, love him, hate him, whatever else. They know how to get things done.
Right.
And that is what the bureaucracy hates, because the bureaucracy is all about doing nothing.
Yeah.
And getting zero results, because it keeps them in power. It keeps them where they are.
That's right. Well,
it's
lots to think about, lots to watch. We'll be back in just a couple days.
Yeah, and we'll know whether Tulsi made it. And I don't know. Is there a vote on cash this week? I don't know.
I don't think so.
There's a lot of Democrats are slowing these votes down by parliamentary procedure.
But we can do a recap of all the cabinet positions and where they are on Thursday's show. We'll record a couple episodes. We have a really special guest coming.
Yes,
we're excited about it. So be on the lookout for that. And until then, thanks everybody.
Thank you for listening. God bless.